Hello everyone. Welcome back to the FilmHead. Today we will talk to you about the top 10 evil child movies to watch at home or theater. They also available on internet. Before starting, please don't forget to subscribe our channel and hit like button as well as be notified for new movies update. Now let's start. Number 10. We need to talk about Kevin. Under Lynn Ramsey's direction, We Need to Talk About Kevin is a jumbled, disorienting tour through time that jumps about inside her head. The movie jumps randomly between the past, present, and who knows when. This movie is meant to be thought-provoking, but not meant to scare you out of having children. It's a story of nature versus nurture. What occurs when decent parents have horrible kids? Does this imply that they are not as good as they had thought they were? The film works so brilliantly as a tribute in large part to the actors. Kevin is seen at 3 ages. As a baby and toddler, he is merely colicky, irritating, and would try the patience of a saint. As a teenager, Kevin has started to cruelly resemble his mother in profile and hairstyle. A demon seed, he is loving and affectionate with his father, Franklin, and has a way of making it clear that it's a deliberate charade designed only to hurt Eva. Franklin himself lives in a state of demented decency, deceiving himself that his family are living acceptable lives. The movie will make you feel for the horrific shootings that plague society currently and put into perspective the collateral damage they result in. Shudder. This movie was hands down amazing. People don't understand that postpartum depression is real and affects every woman that goes through it differently, and I feel like that's what Eva went through. Number 9. Joshua. Absolutely brilliant. Perfect mixture of psychological horror with creepy thriller. Joshua is a 2007 American psychological thriller co-written and directed by George Ratliff. Rich New York couple Brad and Abby Cairn are parents to 2 kids. Joshua, their firstborn kid, is a self-assured 9-year-old who dresses conservatively. He is a child prodigy on the piano and exhibits talent to the point where he acts and thinks older than his years. The arrival of a new baby with the lungs of an opera singer intensifies Joshua's weirdness and triggers Abby's barely latent depression. For all its surface glamour and mainstream ambitions, Joshua taps into something dark and guilty about being a parent, acknowledging that innocence is not necessarily every child's default position. We love the way that this film presents the stress of parenting and turns it into horror suspense. The most I have ever cried in my life is the first 2 months that my daughter was alive, and they were tears of exhaustion and stress. You love the kid so much that you just keep going and can start to turn into a monster. The fear that the baby is going to start crying again right after you get it to sleep is one of the most intense and scary feelings imaginable. And then after a few months the baby is fine, unless they aren't. This was honestly a good movie. It was well spaced, good introduction, a good climax, and good closing. Another strength of Joshua is that the kid is super creepy, but not in an overly obvious way. Joshua just keeps doing things that are right at the edge of what kids would actually do, like attacking ducks, getting rid of toys to start over, dissecting toys, etc. Number 8. Brightburn. Brightburn is a body count style horror picture that solely stars a murderous Superma, young Clark Kent, a preteen alien who looks a lot like that certain super-duper hero who always seems to be having trouble in new movies. The film follows a young alien boy raised on Earth who realizes he has superpowers, soon using them to terrorize his town. A machine to deliver gore and violence, Brightburn also features some of the most improbably and even hatefully dumb salt-of-the-earth type characters in a recent American horror movie. It takes 3 deaths and 1 horrible maiming for anybody to call 911 about Brandon Breyer, a gawky 12-year-old with superpowers and a temper. James Gunn's involvement in Brightburn has been used as part of a rather cleverly trolling marketing campaign that has teased us into expecting a traditional superhero narrative. However, they were clearly going for a mean and nasty tale about the ugliness of the pubescent stage of life, wrapping it up in a red cape and giving it some familiar superpowers that definitely weren't intended to benefit mankind in any way. The cautionary moral of "be careful what you wish for" doesn't need to be heavy-handed to be effective. Also, Brightburn is very clearly a horror film first and foremost. It's merely the flavor that is a superhero tale. Depending on how you see it, Brightburn's adherence to the structure of an origin story will either exacerbate or alleviate the ongoing superhero fatigue felt by many of us. Number 7. Sinister 2. The supernatural abuse drama, Sinister 2 juggles two disparate storylines in an awkward way. When considered alone, neither tale is very inventive. However, when viewed as continuations of one another, the film's tragic domestic drama subplot and its demonic possession/ghost story main narrative are both sufficiently bizarre to leave you wishing they were far better. Sinister 2 starts off on the wrong foot. In a Catholic church's confessional booth, haunted, unnamed former deputy sheriff wants to share his burden. He must stop Bugwell, the dorky-looking demon from the first Sinister, from abducting more children. The characters are likable, the young brothers are well cast, the death scenes creative, and at the end we were left feeling good and hoping for the next installment. Finally, the film was rich with commentary on childhood, families, and parenting. Courtney and her kid's story is easily the better half of Sinister 2, since it's most recognizably about human protagonists. Sinister will be a different horror experience for you. It had well-written story, quality actors, and a genuinely creepy atmosphere. It was one of those movies which would give night terrors. It is a disturbing one if you really connect with the plot. Want to praise the music composer? Like the movie much better with the scariest and creepy music. Number 6. Goodnight Mommy. The 2022 American psychological horror film Goodnight Mommy was written and directed by Matt Sobel. It is a reimagining of the same titled Austrian movie from 2014. It was kind of hard to follow in some parts, but it was really good, really well planned out, and the actors, they were great. Good movie to watch when you're just looking for something new, and to make you get really into it in some spots. Elias and Lucas, identical twins, are shocked to see each other when they get back to their isolated home from their father. Their mother, who believes that plastic surgery is essential to her career as a Hollywood star, has bandages all over her face as a result of the procedure. She may not appear odd, but there's something strange about her. She throws away hand-drawn images, smokes in her room, and acts aggressively and secretively. That makes the lads wonder who's really behind her. As is sadly and frequently the case with thrillers that pose a question of such great allure and intrigue, finding out the answer is rarely worth the second guessing it takes to get there. This movie is one of those movies that are mind-playing games. At first it makes you question a lot of things about the characters, and the more you get closer to the end, everything keeps on making sense of the movie. Number 5. Children of the Corn. The movie leading up to, and including, the massacre of the adults of a small town in Nebraska by their children, after the adults' irresponsibility ruins the crop and the children's future. Children of the Corn features some dicey child performances, tons of dramatic cliches and shorthand, and way too many scenes that feel like they were over-edited instead of considerately directed. However, moving past a few cliches, the movie is solid enough for 80s horror flicks and horror flicks in general. The disappearance and murder of an entire town, small or not, simply doesn't get undetected until by chance a random passerby escapes being the next victim. That aspect certainly lacks a great deal of credibility, even if it is necessary for the plot to exist. The plot, so complex and delightful, one could not ask for a better movie. We could not guess what might come next. Lord have mercy on those poor souls who were sacrificed, and the poor boy who levitated like a spaceship and died. John Franklin's performance as the preacher was excellent and interesting because he had some disease that made him look like a little kid. The movie has some religious and some demonic, with the little kids being weird and creepy. Number 4. The Bad Seed, 2018. The Bad Seed is a 2018 American made-for-television horror drama film directed by Rob Lowe for Lifetime. This movie is so beautiful. The acting, especially McKenna Grace who plays Emma, is insane. It's so aesthetically pleasing. Like the filming locations, the music, and the plot twists are shocking. Every minute of the movie gets more and more interesting. Truly, you will never guess what happens next. 9-year-old Emma Grossman, the widowed father of her father David Grossman, opens the film with her seeing a cat drown in the fountain below her bedroom window. All she does is close the blinds and get ready for the day. The most genuine attempts at acting in The Bad Seed come from McKenna Grace as a much too overtly evil Emma Grossman, the film's equivalent to Rhoda Penmark, Cara Buono as David's sister and Emma's aunt, and Patty McCormick, who portrayed Rhoda herself in the original and gained an Oscar nomination for her performance as Dr. March, Emma's psychiatrist. Screenplay is engaging from start to finish, and there is no dull moment in the film. Cinematography is top-notch. The way Grace's character is, and the way she has portrayed is mind-blowing. Her facial expressions, the accent, everything was perfect. Climax could have been better. It felt it was fastly done and wrapped up. Nevertheless, this one won't disappoint for sure. Number 3. Eden Lake. Eden Lake is a 2008 British horror film written and directed by James Watkins in his directorial debut. This film is about a couple. Ginny and Steve are camping by a secluded lake when their vacation is interrupted by a group of rowdy teenagers. Eden Lake is a straightforward, stripped-down slasher that owes a lot to its brilliantly simple central conceit. In the place of the vengeful ex-boyfriend or the escaped mental patient, its menace comes in the form of mouthy, hoodie-clad teenagers. It's well documented that the best horror is born of real-life societal fears, and the genre has a rich history of innovation in this department. There are a lot of positive aspects to the film, including the excellent casting, which gives each actor, protagonist or antagonist, a credible performance. This effectively conveys the story and elicits an emotional response from the audience. Those unfortunate enough to have experienced terrorizing circumstances, whether through bullying by several people or in a more severe, violent context, may recognize some of that story. This movie focuses more on the latter. The movie intelligently foreshadows its themes about false parenthood in the beginning through means of radio broadcast, which is just amazing. We wondered and still wonder that if I was in that situation, what were all the possible ways one could escape? But never knew asking for help would turn out like that. And the children, God, they were so cruel. Bit 5. Adults. The most horrifying movie you can watch, for it's so damn realistic. Number 2. Orphan. Orphan is a 2009 psychological horror film directed by John Collett-Serra and written by David Leslie Johnson from a story by Alex Mace. There is a lot of tension and turns in Orphan, along with outstanding acting, a fantastic storyline, and superb execution. I was so stunned by the movie that I felt like the room was running out of air. All I could hear was my heart thumping. The film is about a couple, after losing their baby, adopt a 9-year-old girl. However, they soon make a troubling discovery about her mysterious past and uncover several traits of her disturbing personality. Orphan has a unique, interesting story twist, a stunning secret with a shocking ending not seen in all my years of movie watching. Orphan hinges on a classic thriller device. The heroine who knows the truth and insists on it, even though everyone is convinced she's mad and wants to ship her off to rehab or even a mental institution. It's frustrating to know you're right when no one can see the truth you find so obvious. Overall, The Orphan is a well-made psychological horror film that is sure to keep audiences guessing until the end. The climax is rather startling, combining the logic of the situation with audacity in exploiting its terror. Yet you have to hand it to Orphan. You want a good horror film about a child from hell? You got one. Do not, under any circumstances, take children to see it. Number 1. Abigail. Abigail is, without a doubt, the greatest horror comedy vampire movie of 2024. This film is Radio Silence's way of telling Spyglass to go screw themselves and Melissa Barrera's way of telling Spyglass to take this firing and shove it. It got a perfect cast of people: Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Catherine Newton, Angus Cloud, William Catlett, Kevin Durand, Giancarlo Esposito, Matthew Good, and the wonderful and talented showstopper of the movie, Alicia Weir. Abigail opens by introducing us to a group of kidnappers, each with broadly defined specialties and even broader personalities. They're complete strangers to each other but handpicked by their employer. Their job is to kidnap a young girl named Abigail as she returns home from ballet practice. They pull it off with remarkable precision and then drive the girl out to an abandoned mansion in the middle of nowhere where their handler named Lambert is waiting. When they arrive, Lambert informs them that they are to stay at the mansion and watch Abigail for 24 hours while he retrieves the hefty ransom from her wealthy yet mysterious father. After he returns, they'll all get paid and can go their separate ways. Abigail isn't the sweet, innocent little girl fearing for her life. She's actually a vampire, and her 6 kidnappers are what's on the menu. It's a crazy turn of events that gives a little more context to the film's hilarious tagline, "Children can be such monsters." Everyone in this film did such an amazing job, and I had such a good time watching it. I definitely would watch it again. This is a horror movie after all. Jump scares, gore, interesting explosions, and a subtle mythology make this very enjoyable. So guys, that's all our today's journey about top 10 child thriller and horror film ever. Stay with us for next video. Thank you and love you.